A debate rages on. Who is at fault for all these plane crashes? Could it be that there's just freak accidents and sometimes planes crash? Or could it be DEI? Well, all these Democrats are coming out saying that this is all happening under Donald Trump's watch. So clearly it's his fault. Meanwhile, conservatives are saying, y'all implemented these insane policies for years. It was bound to catch up to us at some point. We're lucky Trump is here to start to reverse the damage. Now, my friends, a plane crashed in Toronto a couple days ago. You know the news. And a viral video has emerged, a couple of them actually, of Delta and Endeavor Airlines, who operate these flights, bragging about their unmanned flight crews. That's right. They brag about how they have all female flight staff. The question is not, my friends, can females fly planes? Of course they can. The question is, what % of commercial pilots are female? And of those females, how many hours of flight time do they have? You know, I know flight time hours doesn't necessarily indicate your skills, but it does correlate for obvious reasons. How many hours have you flown a plane? You know, a lot of people don't realize this. When you want to get a pilot's license, you can't just go to the DMV or the Department of Air Vehicles, whatever, and get a license. It actually requires a lot of hours. There's training for different kinds of weather, nighttime flying. The first time you get your license, my understanding is you can fly during the day only and if it's sunny. And then it actually requires a ton of training to be able to fly at night in inclement weather, let alone snow. So here we have a crash. There were no crosswinds. The runway was dry. And right now people are saying, hey, wait a minute. Why hasn't Delta released any information on these pilots? The presumption from many people is that these pilots were women or in otherwise DEI hires. So the issue then becomes, if Endeavor and Delta want to hire only women, they have to go down the list to accommodate that. Because the bell curve for women will have a much smaller pool than the bell curve for men, meaning if you're trying to get more women on the plane, you're likely going to find that many of these women have lower skills than the pool of males simply because there's a greater quantity. Let's put it this way. If 10% of men are qualified to fly these planes and 10% of women, that sounds pretty even, right? Until you realize that only about 5% of commercial pilots are female, meaning you have 20 times less the amount of female pilots. So if you're looking for the best available pilots the best available pilots, you're going to find 20 guys and 1 woman. How then do you fill an entire plane or a fleet or whatever it is you're trying to do? Well, how about we do this? We got a lot to break down. I've got the data for you on DEI. Comments from Democrats saying it's Trump's fault. I don't think it is. This happened in Canada. But how about we play these 2 videos so you can understand the priorities of these airlines? I want to just stress, my friends, the priority should be keeping you safe and getting you from point A to point B. Sometimes A, B to C, unless you're on a multi-leg trip and you're going around the world. Instead, I got to tell you what I find so absolutely cringe about these videos is like, look, man, these women in particular, and I ain't saying all women, but there's videos of guys and they're working on oil rigs and they're drenched in mud and grease and they're just working at it. They're not sitting there going, yeah, boys, manpower. Yet in these videos, or how about this? I used to work for a couple airlines, for an airline. And the male pilots just smile. It's like, take a picture. Here's a video. And it's like, we here fly planes. The female videos are always about how it's because they're female. If they're prioritizing being women over being good pilots, the company, then don't be surprised when you get crashes. But let's get into it, and I'll play these videos for you first.
Girls, come on. Leave the saving the world to the men? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Live fast, die young, bad girls do it well. Live fast, die young.
It says, when you have an unmanned flight crew and the woman is bobbing her head. Oh, there's a bunch of women all bobbing their heads. Congratulations on your unmanned flight crew. Oh, no. This is at Endeavor Air on TikTok. They post tons of these. And here's a woman flying a plane, writing something down. And I will stress this. Women can, of course, fly planes. But if you're prioritizing all female flight crews, that means you are cutting off the majority pool of competent people who can fly. That means you likely have to go down the list. Let me say it again. If 1 in 20 pilots are female, to get 2 on a plane would mean you are likely going, I'm sorry, it means you're overlooking people who are more qualified. The music is really annoying too. Once again, this is a collage or montage of at Endeavor Air on TikTok, and it's just all women. Delta Endeavor. I guess Endeavor is their regional carrier. This music is really getting on my nerves. So let's just mute that. Now look, when it comes to flight attendants, male or female, I really don't care.
You got into Harvard Law?
Oh no, what is this? It says you got into aviation?
What, like it's hard?
All women, once again. I have no idea what this is.
What is your name as a group?
The Click.
Ugh.
Click or clique? Click.
Oh,
Let's do it.
oh no, it gets worse, you guys. There's another one. I love this. From the Express Tribune, it writes, Delta upside down plane crash allegedly involved all-female crew. Okay, I don't think that's true. We don't know for a fact. Delta flight was allegedly unmanned with all-female crew, sparking debate on DEI hiring practices. I don't know what Express Tribune is, but Google sends you this article. It's the first article that pops up. There's no evidence to suggest that the crew was all female. In fact, this individual right here looks to be a crew member who appears to be male. I'm not saying we know that the flights were flown by females. I am bringing up this point that the airline goes real hard on trying to highlight how they hire females. And so, while we don't know for sure about Delta and we're still waiting for the data, I want to get into the politics of what I think may have occurred or what may be occurring. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing displeasure, another one of these videos.
Did somebody say slave?
Okay, and now there is a bunch of women walking from in front of the plane, swinging their hips.
Did somebody say slave?
There's their all-female flight crew. You know, I want to stress this. I have been on planes with female pilots that have been absolutely fine. Women can absolutely fly planes. And I feel bad for all of the competent women who are just trying to be pilots, but they can't get past all of the diversity hiring stuff. This is exactly the point that Charlie Kirk was making. The question then becomes, if your company prioritizes hiring females over anything else, are they hiring competent pilots? And if we know they prioritize identity over merit, then you're going to be sitting there being like, ma'am, you may be the greatest pilot in the world, but I know your company hires based on identity and not merit. Thus, why would I not have a fear that you are not capable of flying this plane? And this is where we end up. Now, Express Tribune actually is running the narrative that allegedly it was an all-female flight crew. This is I don't know that I believe this. Some people are saying that you can hear someone talking to air traffic control who was a male. Others have responded that the people usually talking to air traffic control are not flying, so maybe it was a female captain with a male co-pilot. I don't know or care, okay? First, I'm glad everyone's okay. There were some injuries, but everyone's okay. Absolutely looks like pilot error. There have been tons of comments on the plane crash already. Most of them seem to be that the plane did not flare. Everybody knows this because we've all been on planes. When a plane is landing, the nose tips upward. It's slowing its speed as the rear landing gears touch the ground, and then it slows down as the front gear makes contact. This reduces the amount of immediate force on the landing gear, allowing it to absorb the energy. Duh. When you watch the video of the Delta crash, it just belly flops. It goes straight down, did not flare. All the comments you see online are saying pilot error, except for the liberals. They're like, it was the weather. Yeah, first responder said there was no crosswinds and that the runway was dry. There was concern that the wind was at 35 knots and 35 to 37 or so. Some have commented that they should have gone for I forgot what it's called. They should do a repass or whatever, like go back up, come around, and then try and land again. Either way, if that was the case, it's pilot error. The pilot should have said, have you ever been on a plane that had a missed landing? I have. It was coming down, and then they stopped and started going back up and said, we're going to have to reapproach and make another attempt at this one, guys. I forgot what the reason was. I used to fly twice a week, so it happened. This pilot should have done it. Now, maybe it was a dude, whatever. The question is, have they been hiring people who are not qualified? Well, let's ask our good friend ChatGPT to break it down for us. I got GPT and Grok because they pulled up the data, and you're going to love this one. I said, how many commercial pilots are female? And the response I got, as of 2022, women constitute approximately 8.54% of commercial pilots in the U.S., with 8,925 women holding commercial pilot certificates out of 104,498. Globally, the percentage of female airline pilots is estimated to be between 4 and 6%. While the number of female pilots has been gradually increasing, women remain significantly underrepresented in the aviation industry. Efforts are ongoing to encourage more women to pursue careers in aviation and to address the factors contributing to this gender disparity. Could it, in fact, be that most women don't want to fly planes? I just don't understand how we live in this world where they're like, the only reason women don't is because they were socialized not to. Well, women want to carry babies in their bodies. Most men don't because they can't, right? Is it possible that men and women are different, perhaps? The motive, I mean, let's just talk about testosterone. Yo, guys punch each other in the face for fun. I mean, actually, I was going to say kind of as a joke, but literally they do. Combat sports are hugely popular. Substantially more men doing combat sports. The amount of women that are engaged in any kind of these activities that are typically male dominated, it's relatively low. And it's, if you watch these dating podcasts, they like to point out that women don't do anything. Women don't have hobbies. And it was like the Whatever podcast. And like whenever they would ask women, like, what are your hobbies? They're like, I go out. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, I hang out with my friends. Like, but what do you do? Do you do anything else? And they're like, no. I'm not disparaging women because over this. Women and men are different. Hobbies. Okay, let's go back to. I got to pull up more of this data because we're going off on a tangent. But my point ultimately is this. Maybe I can make this easier to read. Hobbies. Men engage in dopamine-inducing activities substantially more than, I shouldn't say dopamine. Everybody's got a dopamine release. But like men do activities with quantifiable goals. We like sports. Women tend not to. Some women still do. Men and women are both humans. But the reason why I think we see 5 to 8% of pilots being female is because it's largely a male activity. Testosterone drives guys to do certain things. Estrogen drives women to do other things. And they're like, we got to get more women flying planes. Well, if they don't want to and they're not applying, don't force them to do it. Okay, so I asked Grok. As the most recent data, it says the percentage of commercial pilots who are male and female vary slightly. They say globally it's about 6.34 non-student pilots. The figure drops around 4.9 when specifically looking at airline pilots, which is what we want. Globally, estimates from the International Society of Women Airline Pilots, another aviation analysis, suggest that women make up between 4 and 6%. So I asked GPT and Grok to make graphs showing us pilots by gender and amount of hours flown. Grok can't make pictures, apparently, so it gave me all the data. And then it was like, here, let me use text to draw a picture for you, which is fairly impressive, but still like silly. So taking a look at this attempt at drawing a picture using text, you can see that the amount of females in general, ultimately meaningless relative to the amount of males. Now, take a look at this right here. 80,000 men have over 10,000 flight hours. That makes them masters. Less than 5. And look at this. The highest bracket is 2 little M symbols and still no females anywhere near there. Now look at this F, just around the 10K mark. if we balance that, we can say that there's about 5,000 to 6,000 men who have 12 to 13,000 plus hours. 12 to 13,000. Now, if you've got less than 5,000 females and you've got 90,000 males, and the 90,000 males have comparable flight time, imagine how many men you have to skip over to try and hire females. Now, Grok does a bit of a better job when asked to make a graph because it can actually draw the picture. Take a look at this. Commercial pilots by hours flown, male and female. So if we're looking for, look at this, man. The amount of pilots with 20,000 hours for female is near zero, and for males, it's near 500. 20,000 hours. That's a lot. But let's go to 10,000. We want masters. Masters. I don't even know that you need 10,000 hours to actually be a pilot, but we'll ask. So we're looking at, according to ChatGPT, and I believe these numbers are probably incorrect because it doesn't add up to the 100,000, I believe. Actually, maybe it does. Maybe Grok is wrong. No, I don't know. I think the number's kind of, well, I wonder who's right. Either way, when you look at the comparison, you can see GPT says about 3,000 dudes, and it looks like 200 females. Okay. So I mean, that makes sense, right? 8%. That's the number we're looking at. 8% are female. If you want Endeavor and Delta to have an all-female flight crew, how many qualified men or more qualified men are you skipping over? Because let's play this game. You've got 1,500 men with over 15,000 hours of experience. How many of these men do you have to say, I will not hire to try and get a female pilot, or I should say an all-female crew? That is to say, there are many women who clearly qualify. The concern I have is they outright say they're trying to address the gender disparity. No. Anybody who wants to be a pilot can take the test. They take the test, then they can succeed. They can be a pilot. This idea that we need to tell them they have to be pilots if they don't choose to be is insane. But that's the nature of the DEI stuff. And here's where we are. From the New York Post. Carolyn Levitt blasts irresponsible Chuck Schumer for blaming Delta plane crash on Donald Trump, even though it was in Canada. Look, they shouldn't play this game. It's a dangerous game because it's not going to be termination of DEI employees or anything like that because this was in Canada. However, it may be the likelihood, the probability here is DEI, diversity. I should say diversity, inclusion, and equity die because of what the risks are.
Girls, come on. Leave the saving the world to the men.
It's auto-playing. Stop. So if we were going to try and assess this, is it Trump's fault? Is it diversity? Well, we don't know for sure in either capacity, but it's certainly not Trump's fault. It was in Canada. There is a possibility, in fact, it was diversity.
It's incredibly irresponsible for Chuck Schumer to say such a thing when the investigation is still underway. And as you rightfully pointed out, John, this crash unfortunately took place in Canadian airspace with Canadian air traffic controllers overseeing it. And the facts about the FAA are that no air traffic controllers have been let go by Secretary Duffy or this new administration. In fact, Secretary Duffy has put great emphasis on hiring the best and the brightest air traffic controllers who want to be part of the FAA, and President Trump signed a very strong executive order to ensure that the FAA and all federal government agencies are focused on merit and skill-based hiring. We want the best and the brightest, the most competent individuals in positions, especially of public safety at the FAA, the Department of Transportation, and all departments across this federal government so we can best serve the American people. So while Secretary Buttigieg and the Biden administration sat on their hands when it came to aviation safety for 4 years, this administration is taking it seriously and is actively recruiting the best and the brightest to join this very important field.
Well, I will also just add the fact that it was in Canada and it was their aviation administration also kind of suggests it might still be diversity, equity, and inclusion because Canadians have all of this in their government. I mean, the U.S. did too, but Trump's been getting rid of it. But either way, can't be Trump's fault. Didn't fire anybody from the FAA. So how does this happen? Well, when you watch the video, like I mentioned, the plane comes down, doesn't flare, tilted slightly to the right, and just belly flops. I mean, it was coming in hot and fast, and it did not slow down. I'm not a pilot, but I can read. My first assumption as a layman, which is worthless, by the way, my opinion is probably wrong, was that it's pilot error. Based on the statements from people who are pilots, and there are a lot of comments on the internet, and they're all fairly worthless too, because you know who these people are, but some of the people we know to be pilots that have posted were saying that it should have taken another pass, it should have gone back up, turned around, there were no crosswinds, the runway was dry, and a bunch of the pilots said, why it didn't flare, right? And I'm like, I don't know what that means. But basically what they're saying is that it's when it tilts up. So we get that. Somebody made a mistake. It could be, guys, I mean, there's a harsh reality to this. It could be that, let's entertain all possibilities. And then we'll talk about Occam's razor. Maybe the pilot suffered a grand mal seizure right at the last minute. And as they're coming in for a landing, they black out. The co-pilot's like, pull up. What do you do? What do you do? Oh, crunch. Maybe. I really doubt it. In the absence of evidence, the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions tends to be the correct one. And that is, Endeavor has bragged about all-female flight crews. That's why people are speculating this. It's called pattern recognition and presuming based on what is more likely to be probable. Democrats, the left, and the corporate press don't want to admit it because it would make their stupid policies, well, it would expose them for their stupid policies. Me, I don't know. I think those videos are funny. In the meantime, if we don't get a handle on this, it'll only get worse. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Comment! What do you think? I know you're all going to comment it was DEI, but give me your theories. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. You can buy Cast Brew coffee and check out our exclusive premium content, rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Check out the green room. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next segment.